You won't believe what just happened at Browns training camp. While everyone was obsessing over speeding tickets and depth charts, Shedeur Sanders just did something that's about to flip the entire quarterback conversation in Cleveland upside down. In just 8 plays, he reminded everyone why he's been the most underestimated player in this entire facility. What you're about to see isn't just a practice highlight. It's the moment a 5th-round pick started his takeover of the NFL. And if you think you know how this story ends, think again. Because what happened on day 3 of training camp is just the beginning of something the Browns organization isn't ready to admit yet. I'm about to break down the most important 8 plays you didn't see coming from Browns training camp. While the media circus focused on everything except football, Shedeur Sanders was quietly building something explosive. This isn't just another training camp story. This is about a young quarterback who's been systematically dismantling every excuse, every doubt, and every political barrier standing between him and greatness. Today, I'm showing you exactly how Shedeur turned his first real opportunity with the second team into a masterclass of quarterback play. We'll dive deep into why those 8 plays matter more than anything Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco have done so far. Plus, I'll reveal the behind-the-scenes story that the mainstream media completely missed, how Shedeur's been preparing like a starter while being treated like an afterthought. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the Browns might have accidentally drafted their franchise quarterback in the 5th round and why the silence from Kevin Stefanski is becoming deafening. Let's get into it. Here's what nobody wants to talk about. The systematic delay of Shedeur Sanders isn't just about depth charts or development. It's about politics, perception, and the uncomfortable reality that a 5th-round pick might be outclassing everyone ahead of him. But here's where this story gets fascinating. Instead of complaining, Shedeur has turned this delay into his secret weapon. Think about this for a second. This is a player who dominated at Jackson State, transferred to Colorado under the brightest lights in college football, and performed under pressure that would crush most quarterbacks. He's never had to wait his turn. Ever. From high school to college, Shedeur Sanders was the guy. The starter. The leader. The face of the program. Now, for the first time in his football life, he's being told to sit down and wait. Most quarterbacks would crack under this psychological pressure. The ego hit alone would be devastating. But Shedeur? He's treating this like graduate school. While other rookies are worried about making the team, he's studying like he's already the starter. Virtual reality sessions to simulate reps he's not getting physically. Staying late to chart every defensive look. Writing down play calls the night before so nothing catches him off guard during practice. This isn't just preparation, it's obsession. And it's the kind of obsession that separates franchise quarterbacks from career backups. Every rep he gets, even if it's just one in a 90-minute session, is treated like it might be his last. That's not desperation, that's surgical precision. But here's what makes this even more impressive. He's not bitter. Listen to his interviews. Watch his body language. There's no entitlement, no frustration, just pure hunger. He understands the game within the game. He knows that complaining won't get him reps, but consistent excellence will. So while the media focuses on snap counts and depth charts, Shedeur is building something lethal in the shadows. The systematic delay isn't breaking him, it's forging him. Every day he's not the starter is another day he's getting mentally stronger, technically sharper, and emotionally more mature. When his opportunity finally comes, and it will come, he won't just be ready. He'll be overprepared to the point where failure becomes impossible. And that's exactly what we saw on day 3. When the Browns finally gave him something resembling a fair shot with the second team, all that preparation exploded into 8 perfect plays. No hesitation. No nervous energy. Just confident, crisp execution that had the sideline buzzing and coaches taking notes they didn't expect to write. The delay was supposed to humble him. Instead, it's about to launch him. I want to know from where you are watching this video and what the current time is. Send your answers in the comments, as I love to hear from you guys. Now, let me paint you the picture of what actually happened when Shedeur finally got his shot with the second team. This wasn't just good quarterback play, this was a clinic in how to maximize limited opportunities. In just 8 plays, Shedeur did what he's been doing his entire career. He delivered when it mattered most. The setup was perfect for failure. Cleveland's defense, even the second team, is loaded with talent. The offensive line he was working with wasn't the first string. The receivers weren't the guys getting all the headlines. But that's exactly when Shedeur Sanders is most dangerous, when the odds are stacked against him and everyone expects him to struggle. Play 1. Quick slant to the slot receiver. Nothing fancy, but watch the footwork. 3-step drop, perfect timing, ball out before the receiver even finishes his break. That's not luck, that's anticipation developed through thousands of reps and film study. Play 2, out route to the boundary. The throw that separates college quarterbacks from NFL quarterbacks. Shedeur didn't just complete it, he placed it perfectly, leading the receiver away from the defender with touch and precision that had coaches nodding in approval. But it was that laser beam to tight end Blake Whiteheart that really got everyone's attention. This wasn't just a completion, this was a statement throw. Down the seam, threading the needle between 2 defenders, with the kind of velocity and accuracy that makes scouts reach for their phones to call the front office. What made this sequence even more impressive was the context. The sun was ruthless, the humidity was smothering, and every eye in the facility was watching. Most quarterbacks would feel the pressure and try to do too much. Shedeur? He looked like he was playing catch in his backyard. Calm, poised, completely in control. His pre-snap reads were NFL-level sharp. He was moving defenders with his eyes, checking protections, and making adjustments that showed he wasn't just running plays, he was commanding the offense. That's veteran-level processing in a rookie jersey, and it's exactly what the Browns have been missing at the quarterback position. The timing was surgical. Every throw hit receivers in stride, allowing for yards after catch and keeping the offense in rhythm. No forced throws, no hero ball, just smart, efficient quarterback play that moved the chains and kept drives alive. But here's what really stood out, his composure under pressure. When the pocket collapsed, he didn't panic. He stepped up, kept his eyes downfield, and either found the open receiver or threw the ball away to live another down. That's the kind of decision-making that wins games in December and January. 8 plays. 2 for 2 on a quick series. 1 highlight reel throw that had the sideline buzzing. And suddenly, everyone in that facility had to confront an uncomfortable truth. The 5th-round pick might be the most NFL-ready quarterback on the roster. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the double standard that's been following Shedeur Sanders since the moment he was drafted. 2 speeding tickets. That's it. 2 mistakes that became national headlines and somehow defined his character in the eyes of critics who were already looking for reasons to doubt him. 91 miles per hour in Brunswick, 101 miles per hour in Strongsville. Reckless? Absolutely. Stupid? No question. But let's be real about what happened next. The media didn't just report it, they weaponized it. Suddenly, every sports talk show had an opinion about Shedeur's maturity issues. Every analyst had something to say about whether he was ready for the NFL. It was a feeding frenzy that felt personal, almost performative. Then came Andrew Berry's press conference. The Browns GM didn't just address it, he publicly dressed down his own player. Not smart, he said. It's not about driving fast. It's about endangering others. Fair enough, but here's the question nobody's asking. When was the last time you saw a GM publicly scold a player for traffic violations? This felt less like concern and more like theater. Meanwhile, how did Shedeur respond? Like a grown man. I definitely learned not to drive fast. I follow the rules now. No excuses, no deflection, no throwing anyone under the bus. Just ownership and accountability. But that mature response? It barely got a mention in the coverage. Here's the double standard in action. One mistake becomes a headline, one bad rep becomes a verdict. No benefit of the doubt, no margin for error. While other rookies get praised for learning experiences, Shedeur gets lectures about responsibility. While other quarterbacks get celebrated for community work, Shedeur's charity efforts get buried under speeding ticket stories. And let's be honest about what's really happening here. This isn't just about football or even about speeding tickets. This is about a young black quarterback whose name carries more power than some people are comfortable with. When you're Deion Sanders' son, when you've been in the spotlight since middle school, when you've already proven you can handle pressure that would crush most players, every mistake gets magnified and every success gets minimized. The narrative was set before he ever took a snap in Cleveland. He's entitled, he's immature, he's not ready. But watch him on the field. Listen to his interviews. See how he interacts with teammates and coaches. The narrative doesn't match the reality, and that disconnect is becoming impossible to ignore. So while the media obsessed over speeding tickets, Shedeur was at Rainbow Terrace helping apartment fire victims. While critics question his character, he was building relationships with veterans and earning respect in the locker room. While analysts debated his readiness, he was out preparing quarterbacks drafted ahead of him. The double standard is real, but so is Shedeur's response to it. He's not fighting the narrative with words, he's destroying it with performance. While the media was busy dissecting speeding tickets, Shedeur Sanders was doing something that reveals who he really is as a person. He wasn't at celebrity events or high-profile charity galas designed for maximum publicity. No, he was at Rainbow Terrace, standing side by side with victims of a devastating apartment fire, handing out supplies and checking in on families who had lost everything. This wasn't a PR stunt orchestrated by agents or the Browns media team. There were no cameras rolling for a documentary, no social media team capturing every moment for content. This was Shedeur acting on pure instinct and genuine compassion. "It's something I feel like God put me here to do," he said. "I thought, all right, let's do it. And I did." That's the kind of leadership you can't teach in quarterback school. While other rookies are focused solely on making the team, Shedeur is already thinking about his responsibility to the community. He understands that being an NFL quarterback, especially in a city like Cleveland, means more than just throwing touchdowns. It means being a pillar of the community, a source of hope and inspiration for people who need it most. What struck me most about this story wasn't just that he showed up, it's how he showed up. No entourage, no fanfare, just presence. He talked to families, listened to their stories, and provided comfort in a way that felt genuine and unforced. That's emotional intelligence and maturity that goes way beyond his 22 years. But here's what should really sting his critics. None of this gets headlines. His generosity doesn't trend on social media. His community work isn't plastered across ESPN's homepage. But one speeding ticket? That's front page news for a week. The disconnect between what gets coverage and what actually matters is staggering. This community work also reveals something crucial about Shedeur's character under pressure. He's not trying to rehabilitate his image or score easy points with fans. He's doing this because it's who he is. Remember, this is someone who's been famous since middle school, who's had cameras following him for years, who could easily live in a bubble of privilege and entitlement. Instead, he's choosing to use his platform for impact, not just influence. The families at Rainbow Terrace didn't care about depth charts or draft positions. They saw a young man who cared enough to show up when they needed help most. That's the kind of leadership that translates to the locker room, the kind of character that makes teammates run through walls for you. Cleveland is a blue-collar city that values authenticity above everything else. They can spot a fake from a mile away, but they also recognize the real thing when they see it. Shedeur's community work isn't just good for his image, it's building a foundation of trust and respect that will serve him well when he finally gets his shot as the starter. If character is defined by what you do when nobody's watching, then Shedeur Sanders is passing that test with flying colors. What you saw in those 8 dominant plays didn't happen by accident. It was the result of preparation so intense, so methodical, that it borders on obsession. While other quarterbacks are hoping for opportunities, Shedeur Sanders has been preparing like he's already the starter, and that difference is becoming impossible to ignore. Let me break down what Shedeur's daily routine actually looks like. He's not just showing up for practice and going through the motions. He's treating every single day like it's his audition for the starting job, because in his mind, it is. Virtual reality sessions to simulate reps he's not getting physically. Film study that extends hours beyond what's required. Writing down play calls the night before so nothing catches him off guard during practice. But it goes deeper than just individual preparation. Shedeur is building chemistry with everyone on the roster, not just the stars or the starters. He's chopping it up with defensive backs, learning their tendencies and tells. He's bonding with offensive linemen, understanding their protection calls and adjustments. He's connecting with receivers at all levels of the depth chart, building the kind of trust that shows up in crucial moments. This isn't just smart, it's strategic. Shedeur understands that NFL success isn't just about individual talent. It's about relationships, trust, and the ability to elevate everyone around you. While other quarterbacks are focused on competing with each other, Shedeur is focused on making the entire team better. The mental side of his preparation is equally impressive. He's studying defensive coordinators' tendencies, learning their favorite blitz packages and coverage concepts. He's charting every play from the sideline when he's not in the game, treating practice like film study in real time. That iPad you see him with constantly? It's not for entertainment. It's loaded with defensive film and situational breakdowns. What separates Shedeur from most rookies is his understanding that preparation isn't just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing what to do when everything goes wrong. He's studying not just successful plays, but failed plays. Not just perfect protections, but broken protections. Not just open receivers, but covered receivers and where to go with the ball when your first 3 reads aren't there. This level of preparation showed up in those 8 plays in ways that casual observers might miss. The way he stepped up in the pocket when pressure came from the edge, that's not instinct, that's preparation. The way he anticipated the tight end's break on that seam route, that's not luck, that's film study. The way he moved the safety with his eyes before delivering the ball, that's not natural talent, that's countless hours of studying defensive reactions. When Shedeur finally got his chance with the second team, he wasn't just ready, he was overprepared to the point where success felt inevitable. That's the difference between hoping for an opportunity and being ready to seize it. And based on what we've seen so far, Shedeur Sanders isn't just ready for his opportunity, he's been ready since day one. So here's where we stand after 3 days of Browns training camp. Shedeur Sanders has answered every question except the one that's not his to answer. Why isn't he getting a real shot with the first team? He's shown growth, maturity, leadership, precision, humility, and work ethic that goes beyond his years. He's taken fourth-team chaos and turned it into learning opportunities. Then, when finally given a chance with the second team, he looked like the most natural quarterback on the field. While fans sweltered in Cleveland heat and coaches stayed mysteriously silent, Shedeur let his arm do the talking. Every pass calculated, every move measured, every quote composed. The media tried everything to steer the conversation away from football, amplifying speeding tickets, minimizing community work, ignoring the fact that he's out preparing quarterbacks drafted ahead of him. But here's the truth that's becoming impossible to ignore. This isn't just Deion's son. This isn't just a 5th-round pick trying to make the team. This is a quarterback who's outgrown every depth chart box the Browns have tried to stuff him into. The silence from Kevin Stefanski speaks volumes, and so does the public scolding from Andrew Berry. But louder than both is what Shedeur does when he's finally surrounded by competent teammates. He absolutely dominates. Now I want to hear from you. After watching Shedeur's performance in those 8 plays, do you think the Browns are making a mistake by not giving him first-team reps? Drop a comment below with either ready if you think Shedeur should be getting more opportunities, or wait if you think the Browns are handling his development correctly. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely curious to see where you stand on this. Also, if you want to stay updated on Shedeur's journey and see if he continues to climb the depth chart, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'll be covering every practice, every development, and every moment of what could be the most underrated quarterback story in the NFL. And if you're as impressed by Shedeur's preparation and mental approach as I am, you need to check out my breakdown of how elite quarterbacks study film differently than everyone else. That video is linked on screen right now, and it'll give you even more insight into what separates franchise quarterbacks from the rest of the pack. The real question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders is ready for his opportunity, it's whether the Cleveland Browns are ready for him. Based on what we've seen so far, that answer is becoming clearer every single day. This is the NFL Report. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with more football updates that matter.